Today being November 1st, 2017, the Town Planning Board will come to order. The first thing on the agenda was some bills and payrolls. We have the payroll for Alan Gordon, and this will be his last one. And it's for his sick time in retro. We have for Jane for period going from 11/13 to 11/18, 11/20 to 11/25, 11/27 to 12/2, from 12/4 to 12/9. The last one is from 12/11 to 12/16. Do I have a motion to accept the payroll as read for those dates?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let her sign first. Being close to 7:05, the planning board would like to go over the contract that we're going to have for our consulting interim planning director. It's we have a contract for Bill Scanlon as our interim planning director. The contract. Do I have a motion to accept the contract for Bill Scanlon to be our interim planning director?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I guess I'll sign the contract tonight, and Bill can sign it
Yep.
and make it official.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do you have the other one?
Yep.
Are you signing this copy also?
No.
Oh, you're signing.
I just wanted you to review it.
Yep, looks great.
I need it for thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Put the two in here, and I'll keep a copy. You'll keep a copy.
Okay.
Ready?
I'll get that to
Yep.
Tony tomorrow.
We have a public hearing for 7:15, but it's not quite there yet. I'd like to go over some other stuff if we can for that time frame. We have the plan for discussion tonight. There's been a new process of payroll and billing process, which goes into effect as of January 1st, 2017. The new process is this. We need one planning board signature is required from the list below or the planning director as permission to sign vouchers for bills and payroll as needed. The people who would be eligible to sign this would be myself, Patty, Jean, Russ, Alicia, and Bill Scanlon as the interim director. This is a new payroll that they're doing, so we won't be reading them every
Okay.
session.
All right.
So Jane could contact us, Jane could contact whoever is available.
Okay.
Just one. Or Bill. But we had to vote it. We got to vote it in.
Do I have a motion to accept the new payroll and billing process?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Want to do the St. Mary's, so.
That's what that is.
Yes. We have a letter from Thaddeus in regards to his project. He's addressed it to Mr. Gordon. I hereby request an annual extension of the approval of the St. Mary's subdivision way. Previous, I'm going to extend it to, do I have a motion to extend it to
we sitting here?
11/18/2018?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yep, we'll write it up tomorrow.
Yep.
Thank you.
We'll keep the Timber and things up later.
Okay. Want to do some minutes?
Sure.
Oh, yes, please. Yes, we're going to discuss it after. Want to do some minutes?
Sure. That wasn't bad. Let's take the time to read the June 21st, 2017 minutes.
Yeah, we forgot last time.
Make a motion to accept as presented.
Do I have-
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Take a moment and read the August 23rd, 2017 minutes.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the minutes as written.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
One more.
Yep. That'll bring us to time.
Yep.
Thank you.
I have a motion for the October 18th minutes.
So moved as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes, yeah. It's not.
Being close to 7:15, the Site Plan Board will have a public hearing in accordance with section 200-7-1 and 200-7-2 of the Charlton zoning bylaw. The Charlton Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, November 1st, 2017, at 7:15 in the Senior Center of the George C. McKinstry Building, 37 Main Street, Charlton, Mass., on the site plan application of James Mahoney, Esquire, 60 Prospect Street, North Brookfield, Mass. 01535. On behalf of the Healthwise Foundation Incorporated, requesting site plan approval to operate a registered medical marijuana dispensary in an existing building with accompanying 12 parking spaces, 12 parking lots on property located southerly off the Route 20 at the southeast corner of the intersection of Route 20 and 31. Assessor map 34A, Block A, Lot 7, 9, and 10. Said property is Zone CB. Copy of the site plan applications are available for inspection at the Planning Board office and the Town Clerk's office on regular business hours. Any person interested or wishing to be heard should appear at this time and place. What we're going to do is we're going to open up the hearing. We're going to have the company make a presentation to the board. At that time, we will hear from the town engineer. We will also get some input from our interim planning director. The board will be asking questions of all these people. At that time, we will open it up to the public. And at that time, the public would please state their name, their address, and keep your comments to about 3 minutes if you can. And we'll direct your questions to the right people at the time. So at this time, if you'd like to make a presentation, that'd be great.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and ladies and gentlemen of the board. Thank you for having me here this evening. Just want to start off by saying it's been an absolute pleasure working with Charlton and its officers for this whole process, which started, I think, back in July, and we've been meeting with everyone we can from now through then, and it's just been absolutely fantastic. So I look forward to continuing that this evening. If it's all right with you, the way I have the presentation in mind, I give a bit of background information on the facility and who HealthWise is. Zach here can walk you through all the technical things that I don't know enough math to do, and we can start going from there, because I'm sure some questions will start arising once we get into the plans. That's good for everyone. I think that'll work. So, to let you know, just starting from the very beginning, my name is James McMahon, and I represent the HealthWise Foundation. The HealthWise Foundation is a nonprofit organization based out of North Brookfield, Massachusetts, and we're devoted to safe, responsible care options for our registered clients. We strive to lead Massachusetts' highly regulated cannabis industry, in fact, the most regulated of any of the states that have legalized cannabis, through our state-of-the-art cultivation process, our personalized patient experience, and our abiding commitment to security and safety at our new home in Charlton. All patients seeking cannabis for therapeutic use at the Charlton Registered Marijuana Dispensary site will be subject to a thorough intake procedure, documenting their past medical history, as much as they're willing to share, of course, current complaints, and a discussion about the risks and benefits of therapeutic marijuana use. RMD patients must be over age 21. They must be previously registered with the Department of Public Health, which in a month will be the Cannabis Commission, but same body, new name. And have a state-issued cannabis photo ID card. Individuals who do not meet these requirements will not be allowed on the property. To get that cannabis ID card, it's about a 2-month process. It costs about $200. You have to see your doctor and then send it into the state to get approved, so that it's not sort of this on-the-whim type of thing. There's a lengthy procedure that goes into making sure that you're qualified to be on the property. To make sure that we only have people on the property who are qualified, the RMD will have on-site security guards, as well as direct real-time video access to our cameras by the Charlton Police. And that's one of the main reasons we chose this site. It's right down the hill from the police station. It couldn't be a better location in our eyes. Only the small amounts of product required for a day's operation will be stored in the vault, and patients will be admitted in a controlled fashion, with only a few allowed out of the secure indoor waiting area at any one time. Once you see the plans, that'll make a little bit more sense, but it's basically going to be an entry like a jewelry store, like the police station. You get buzzed in, your ID gets checked, and then you get let into the larger facility itself. There's no just sort of walk in off the street type of thing. They call it a man trap entry. That sounds like booby trap, so I like to say it's like a jewelry store. For our employees, all employees must pass a stringent annual background check. They must be approved by the Department of Public Health. They undergo a thorough, ongoing training process led by me in sales and security procedures, the Massachusetts regulation, which have regularly been described as the most effective in the nation, and the risks and benefits of therapeutic cannabis use so they can better inform our patients. All products are packaged in plain, opaque, hermetically sealed child-proof containers, and that'll be done up at our facility in North Brookfield. That's where all the packaging takes place, all the cultivation takes place, all the processing takes place, everything but the direct retail sale. That's what will happen in Charlton, so it'll be transported down in the morning, we'll have a day's worth of use, be transported back at the end of the day. All products are packaged, like I said, packaged in plain, opaque, hermetically sealed, child-proof containers. The products, labels, and packaging are specifically designed not to appeal to minors. That involves things such as no cartoons, no bright logos, no bright packaging. I've been going to the Cannabis Commission meetings for the past 2 weeks, day in and day out, And that's absolutely been at the forefront of what they're focused on, making sure that these products are non-appealing to children. Luckily, there's already a whole industry in Colorado that makes these very safe, very generic, very child-proof packages. So we're not going to have to reinvent the wheel. We'll just place an order with them. They've been successful for quite a long time now. All products and labeling must be approved by the Department of Public Health prior to release to patients. So nothing's coming to Charlton that the Department of Health hasn't seen signed off on. Before leaving the facility, patients will be instructed in secure storage and safe disposal of their products. Any waste generated on the site will be transported to North Brookfield for secure disposal. And that we figured was the easiest thing to do. We already have the disposal facility up there. We already have all the infrastructure up there. So when our armored van comes through and picks up whatever's left over at the end of the day to bring back to our main vault, you'll just take the trash with it and take everything else out. Now, we're not planning on generating anything aside from just waste paper and receipts and those sorts of things, but it's just easier to take it all in one fell swoop. For secure disposal, there is to be no on-site use of any of the products or any other consumption of the products by any person at any time under any circumstances. So I just want to say that's something that we are adamant about. There is absolutely no on-site use. There's absolutely no one who will be able to use these products on site. There's no ability for people to open the containers on site or anything like that. Everything's prepackaged, pre-sealed. If they want to see a sample, that's in a little prepackaged Lucite case itself. So everything's very constricted, very constrained. So to tell you a little bit about what we've been doing here in Charlton so far, we've been working hand in hand from the inception of this process with Charlton Town Government, including the Board of Selectmen, the Town Administrator, the Health Department, the Police Department, the Fire Department, the Planning Board, as part of our commitment to transparent integration into the community. As proof, we have voluntarily committed to donate a significant portion of sales directly to the Town of Charlton. We have voluntarily established a youth anti-drug task force in conjunction with the Town of Charlton to purchase and provide educator-approved, age-appropriate educational programming on the perils of youth drug abuse. We have also voluntarily established an ongoing marijuana advisory committee, which has already started meeting, to make sure that we continue to work alongside town officials in the future, get their input on our operations, keep everyone in the same loop. And those are things that are very, very important to us. We here at the Healthwise Foundation look forward to a long and productive partnership with the Town of Charlton. We're committed to being a good neighbor to our new community, a contributing member of the business community, and a supportive party to the town's health and safety efforts. We look forward to working with you to ensure these goals both now and in the future. So now that I've told you a little bit about who we are, Zach will tell you a little bit about exactly how we plan to house this operation.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Zach Victor with HSNT Group. We are the engineers on the project. We're based out of Worcester. We're primarily civil engineers and land surveyors. If I could, I'd give my presentation by the plan so I can kind of go over it with you as we kind of go through. This is just our cover sheet. So existing on site, as you all are probably aware, it's an existing building, which I believe at one point was used as like a restaurant, a pizza place, with existing sewer connection as well as drainage connections. Under this project, these utilities won't change internally in the parking lot. They will remain the same. I believe some work will be done internally, but nothing will happen in terms of the actual parking lot itself. Currently, right now, it's a bare parking lot, basically from years of untreatment, unkept. So what we do plan to do with this is to restripe the parking lot and kind of revamp it a little bit, which you can see here. So we are proposing 12 parking spaces with a handicap accessible parking space. And the parking will be primarily in the front, which I believe it was used for in the past. So essentially, we're mimicking what was previously the parking lot was used for. So there'll be all new striping as well as a refinished sidewalk. Some of the sidewalk is in disarray there, and so essentially this will recreate the new sidewalk and it'll also make it handicap accessible as well. We are going to refinish a section of pavement just to the north towards the building, and that is essentially to flatten out the area just a little bit and make it more handicap accessible. As of right now, it's got a nice little pitch to it, so handicap accessibility is difficult. So what they'll do is they'll make a nice saw cut, and they'll dig up the existing pavement there, flatten the area out just a little bit, repave it, and then provide the striping. And that will provide handicap accessibility to the existing building. Also, just might show it a little better. Also, currently on site, there's no real drainage infrastructure. The only real thing is one catch basin located close to a curb cut on Masonic Home Road. There's only one catch basin that kind of handles essentially the whole entire parking lot. This project being an existing building, an existing amount of impervious area, existing parking lot essentially, we fall under a redevelopment in terms of the mass stormwater policies. So essentially, what we're obligated to do under that bylaw is basically retrofit the area to the best extent practical. So what we will be doing is we're going to be handling the existing roof runoff, which currently just goes through a gutter and kind of just spills out on the ground. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding a drain line that will connect into, essentially it's like a dry well, it's like a leaching chamber, which will allow the water to flow in and percolate into the ground. And any overflow will then go into the existing catch basin. Now with stormwater policy, they would like you to handle the suspended solids or any pollutants that might come off of the stormwater runoff. So what we are going to do with this existing catch basin is provide a retrofit, which what we're going to do is provide a hood on the existing pipe coming in, which that will allow, essentially when you have water and oil and debris mixed in, if you put a hood on the pipe coming up, as the water comes up, the debris and the oil comes up. So as it wants to go out, the hood will trap the oil and the debris on top to allow the cleaner water to go out. So along with the hood, we are going to be adding what's called an Alimo filter, which is a local company. And what it is it allows you to retrofit existing catch basins. And essentially what it does is you insert it into one of the existing pipes, and it has a filtration system. So all the water that comes through will go through this filtration system, and it'll remove suspended solids. And actually, according to their calculations, their paperwork, it will remove 80% total suspended solids, which will meet stormwater policies. So with that, handling the roof runoff and retrofitting the existing catch basin is essentially our way of providing some stormwater management on site, which currently there really isn't. There will be some minor grading done on site, very, very minor, and that will be to the north, and that would just be associated with the leveling of the parking lot in that one small area. So very, very minor earthwork. Essentially, they'll be pushing back the banking ever so slightly. We are going to be providing a snow storage area, which will be the grass area to the west of the building, in between building number 5 and number 46. Oh, right. Currently, there is an existing utility pole, which is very close to the existing curb cut on Masonic Home Road. And with the property not being used for a numerous amount of years, one of the poles was getting a little wobbly, if you will. They put another pole to essentially correct the problem, but it is blocking a portion of our driveway. We have been in contacts with National Grid.
Yeah, they're going to drop it underground.
Right, so that would be removed, that issue will be removed. So the way it sits right now, essentially you have one-way circulation through there. When they remove that and put it underground, we'll regain our two-way circulation provider, providing a safer access. One issue did come up with these 2 parking spaces to the north. What we've decided on would to make them employee-only parking to eliminate any accessibility problems. The idea is with people coming in and out, it might be a little trickier to go in and out of those spaces if there's traffic involved. The idea is making these employee-only parking with provided signage is that employees will be at work before the traffic begins, before the business actually opens, and they'll also be there after the establishment closes. So as the establishment closes and open, there's no other cars that could potentially, or traffic in the parking lot that could potentially affect the maneuverability of the cars coming in and out. So essentially, just two standalone employee parking lots. We also have provided construction details, which I'd be happy to go over if you like. We did receive a comment letter from Graves Engineering, which we have addressed most of the comments. The only outstanding is there's an operation and maintenance document that we are preparing right now, which essentially deals with the pollution on site associated with the parking lot. And essentially all that is we're gathering some language that will help the new owners basically how to maintain the limo filter, because you will have to replace that filter every once in a while. So we'll go over that. We'll go over cleaning out the leaching chamber, as well as just general maintenance on the parking lot, sweeping, things like that, resurfacing, and everything associated with that. But I'd be happy to go over any comments or questions you guys might have. Oh, and just one thing. These are.
Yeah, those are the updated plans.
These
that
are the-
include the comments to Graves.
At this time, I'd like to ask Mike if he's just roughly go over his report quickly.
Sure.
So that the board can ask questions.
Thank you. For everyone's information, my name is Mike Andrade, Graves Engineering. We did issue a review letter on the site plan a few weeks back, and we had, I think, in total maybe 23 comments. I'd classify most of them as minor in nature with notations and whatnot. The engineer addressed some of the concerns about the parking and some of the other site features in his presentation. We'll be reviewing those when they submit revised plans. So it sounds like they're addressing the concerns that we had noted. I'll point out that the traffic report that was submitted, the traffic wasn't discussed yet. The traffic report that they submitted is still being reviewed by our consultant. I spoke to them this afternoon, and that review will be out in the next couple days. So should be well in advance of the next meeting and have them time to respond before then. So that is coming shortly. If there's any item in particular the board would like to talk about in my review letter, any questions on that?
I got a question. Parking. You're allowing for what, 12 parked cars plus employees? Or will,
The employees would be included in that 12.
so there'd only be then 10 parking spots for the.
Right.
Another question is, you're coming out onto 31 where we're talking about that telephone pole that's in that driveway. Would there be a sign for people leaving to make a right-hand turn?
So that was one of the recommendations from the traffic report, and absolutely, if that's what the board suggests, that's fine with us.
It's just that, there is a median there and.
Yeah. So we actually had a suggestion from the police department to do a couple signs, one in the parking lot that says patients only type of thing, to make sure that we can trespass people out of the lot who shouldn't be there. So I think it'd be easy to just have a few informational things on one side, patients only, right turn only, that type of thing, if that works for the board.
We could also address that for Route 20 also, directions out of the parking lot.
Sure.
Any other questions from the board?
What are your hours going to be?
So right now, the Department of Public Health says that that's up to the town. I know that Mr. Philbrook is currently discussing that as part of the medical marijuana permit that they're going to be issuing, or the medical marijuana license that they plan on issuing. So our plan right now is just comply with whatever that is, since that will most likely be in effect before we open up. I think right now it's either 8 to 8 or 8 to 7, which is exactly what we got.
Nothing was mentioned about lighting. How would something like this affect the neighborhood?
So we do have a photometric plan, which I can show you. This was provided by our architect, Neil Dixon.
sharp enough to go on vacation on Monday, so.
So essentially, what we'll be doing for lighting is we'll be having wall-mounted lighting just on the building, and that will allow the parking lot itself to be illuminated, but also not spill any light onto Route 20, Masonic Home Road, or neighboring properties. Essentially, it's going to light the area, and any lighting in terms of Worcester Road and Masonic Home Road will be taken care of by the existing streetlights. So it's all wall-mounted lighting. There's no poles or anything like that.
And one of the things that we like about the location is it's not in that residential of an area. We're right across from the Honey Farms, which is pretty well lit, right across from the bank and the insurance company, which are fairly well lit, and the signal light. And then most of the lots surrounding us, with, I think the exception of one, are undeveloped lots. So even if there is any potential for spillover, it'd be spilling in either to already lit area or an undeveloped lot.
Building of this type, would there be security lights on the back side of it?
Yes, we are providing lighting in the back of the
backside.
property. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, the DPH is very, very stringent about having us make sure that it's very well secured, the perimeter is controlled, everything like that. To give you an idea, the ABCC, the Alcohol and Beverage Commission, which controls all of the liquor stores in the state, all of the bars and everything else, they have 8 inspectors to cover the entire state. The Cannabis Commission has 11 inspectors to cover 10 dispensaries, and we would be 11 coming in. So very, very tightly controlled.
What about, I know you guys said all the trash or whatever's gonna go back to North Brookfield facility, but what about like general like receipts or paper for?
Oh, we'll
disposal?
just bring all that back.
Okay,
That's,
all right.
that's the only
Okay.
trash we had in
All right,
mind.
okay.
It's just easier one fell swoop.
All right, no problem.
Yeah.
Just-
No, no worries.
just wanted to be
Please.
sure. All right.
Now this, so 10 customer spaces, what's the normal, how many people do you expect a day? Is that something that's gonna be 10 cars constantly in there? Or what
So
is
we don't think it's going to be like Treehouse, for instance, where it's like backing up into the street. My folks are driving up there. They live in Connecticut, and they're taking Route 20 up through here. And they call me, they go, we're stuck in some kind of accident in Charlton. I'm like, oh, don't worry, you passed it in a mile. Yes, we don't envision anything crazy like that. It's hard to tell, honestly, what the demand will be because there's not, and as you'll see in the traffic report, there's not any use code for a dispensary, so there's no way to plug it into the formulas. From what we've been seeing, it's basically, we operate it sort of on a one-in, one-out model. So you come in, you're let into the facility, you come into the waiting room, and as one person leaves the facility, another person goes in. So we're not going to allow, there's not any area to allow any backup on the street or anything like that. But I don't envision it being, slammed or anything along those lines.
Because you fit the parking in the front of the building, if you would adventure someday where you find out that the 10 spots are not enough, is there a possibility of having something else added to that parking lot?
Well, I don't know how much we could add to that parking lot itself because we're kind of constrained by the geography there. But luckily, we do own that building right behind it that has an enormous, enormous lot, like 25 spaces in it. So if we ever did have some sort of, I don't want to say the word emergency, but some sort of run on it where there was a lot of traffic, we would have an ability to kind of say to people, wait your turn in here, and then come over and park in front type of thing. And we'd be able to have our security guard pop right out the back door and do a lap of that lot and make sure no one's getting up to no good in there.
Do you guys have a sign proposed at all? Would it be on the building or?
So we do have one proposed on the building. I actually see the rendering right behind you guys.
Okay.
So it would just be basically the idea we have for it. I think you actually use this term in the advisory meeting, beige. Very beige, very blending in, very nice and easy. So that's one of the reasons why we had the advisory council. We wanted to make sure that, before coming to you guys, we weren't coming in and saying, we're going to paint it red, and, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And we wanted to match the character of the area. We wanted to blend in. We wanted to just seamlessly integrate. And, it's a fantastic location. It's a fantastic plot of land. So we just wanted to basically whip the building back into shape. So we're going to add a little mansard roof, give it a bit of visual flair, give us an area to put the signage up. And that'll also give us a bit of added security because we'll be able to run the parapet all the way around the building. Right now, if you are very athletic, you could probably get a running start and jump yourself up there. The parapet will make that impossible. And actually, today we just got the word back that we are going to be spraying the roof with this seal coating. It's like basically a pickup truck bed liner type stuff. Very, very light, very, very thin. It's about 1/8 of an inch thin and completely seals the thing. So we're doing it up in North Brookfield, and they said they'll have some left over. We're going to bring it down to Charlton and do it down here. And as part of that package, they're also going to spray foam insulate the building for us. So we'll get it nicely whipped back into shape with that as too for the wintertime. So we just found that out this afternoon after seeing the storm that came through.
Yes.
Bill Scanlon. First day on the job here, so I'm
Welcome.
just trying to get my feet on the ground.
Right
I
with the
did
frying
have a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
That Masonic Home Road access,
Mhm.
I'm happy to see that you'll be moving that pole out of the way.
Yeah.
Do you intend to revise that access any further? It seems like it's sort of undefined. Be nice to have more direct in and out, clearer entry and exit from that
Yeah.
the property on that road. Can
Absolutely.
you talk about how you're going to control that?
Sure. I think what we could do to control that is some of the signage, like we talked about, and make sure that we have it marked, right turn only, or whichever is most appropriate for the area. We can also try to delineate it with some planting beds and things along those lines to make it a little bit more clear of what's going where. I think, giving it a bit more of a sharper border, as well as putting in that signage, will, take a lot of the harm out of people knowing which way to go.
Okay. I think a better definition there would help.
Sure.
You mentioned something about my second question. That is, I didn't see a landscaping plan. In the site plan, do you intend to somehow beautify the site with some landscaping to minimize all the pavement and just the building? It's pretty much covered with impervious surface, so some landscaping might help.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, there's already some beautiful landscaping back in that office building. Some tiger lilies that are all through the parking lot there and some nice specimen trees. So what we envisioned, the DPH won't allow us to do any shrubbery hard up against the building. They have a really weirdly specific rule code. But what we can do is do some nice berms along the front, do some plantings along the edge. So that's one of the things that we've been discussing with the advisory committee, because that not only has a lot of town officials, it also has some citizen input on it as well. And that way we can make sure that the people who are looking at it every day like what they're looking at.
Good, I think that would be helpful.
Sure.
And
And just to say, we're going to go local with all that, and with all of these, that's one of our policies. We're starting local with the drainage system, keep it local. Luckily, there's enough orchards and greenhouses in Charlton that I don't think that'll be an issue. And Charlton Well getting in there to do some of the testing for us and those type of things. So we'll reinvest it back into the economy.
And you mentioned that those two spaces on the northeast side are going to be for employees. Is there sufficient width behind those spaces to allow 90-degree angle parking?
So there is if you are a very good and very conscientious driver. So we wanted to make sure that the people who are doing that have the utmost advantage. And that way, if we open at 8, they're getting here at 7. If we close at 8, they're leaving at 9 type of thing. So that way, there is, by the code, enough room to get in and out of there, but it gives them some breathing space if the lot is empty to kind of be able to cut back and forth.
Okay, I'm just concerned that if one of the employees has a pickup truck or something, it might be difficult to make that maneuver.
Yeah, I think we might have to cross that bridge when it comes to it, and luckily we do have that back lot if we do need to do, like if someone does have an extra large car or something like that.
Right.
But I've been able to get, I had a pickup, before I got the car I have now, I had a pickup when I first started looking at this, and I was able to get it in and out of there without too much difficulty. And that's the way it is now, that little slope and everything. So I think when it's flatter, it'll make it easier too, because you'll actually be able to see out of your mirrors where you're turning into.
Good. And then my last, more of a concern than a question was, if at some point you convert to a recreational marijuana dispensary, I think you would need to come back in for site plan amendment, because I think it would change the character of the use, be a lot more traffic and activity in there, and I think would exceed the 12-space parking capacity that you have. So,
Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
I think the board would want to see how you intend to control of the access and the parking,
Mhm.
if you should ever do that.
Yeah, and we're still waiting to see what the rules are going to be. They're drafting them. They should have a draft set of recommendations by November 15th. Then they're going to try to go out in January statewide and do some public comment on them and release them to us in March. So we have a good amount of breathing room before crossing there.
Thank you.
Sure.
Just to elaborate a little more on his concern about costs, you're saying that it's going to be like 2 employees, but then you also have security guard people.
Mhm.
I think now you're talking about shrinking.
Well, we can have some people park in that back space. What I was more thinking with those employee spaces is not have them be the only employees on site. It's an easy way to avoid having our patients try to navigate in and out of those. So we can have 2 employees park there, maybe a manager, an employee of the month gets to park in front of the building, and then everyone else can park behind it. If someone has to pick up, they can park behind it, type of thing.
So, when you come back with a different drawing of the site plan, you'll have the plantings and stuff like that on it
Sure, absolutely.
to give us an idea what to expect on the finish.
Absolutely, yeah. And if there's any recommendations from the board, happy to take those. If there's anything that you guys in particular want to see, we're 100% open on that. So I'll throw that back to you, but I'm happy to put on whatever they're looking.
On the landscaping piece, I made a comment there on there's, and I don't know if he has a sheet up. So they're proposing just shrubs at this point. There really isn't much on the site now. And I asked the question, I'm glad he answered it already. I know there's some requirements about plantings with DPH, what you can and can't do. I'd like to see some trees incorporated on that site if possible. That this board can, something this board should review, I think, and take a look at. The landscaping proposed now is sort of minimal at this point.
Being the half moon turnaround from Masonic Road up to Route 20, there was that half moon.
Mhm.
There's some way of planting something in that area. Yes, no?
To an extent, there's some sight line issues they have to maintain with the traffic light.
And that would be our only hesitation on the plantings. We
Right.
can't do anything hard up against the building because I don't want anyone to hide in the bushes. And we can't do anything that affects the camera sight lines. But kind of within those cones of where we can build, sky's the limit.
Any other questions from the board?
Just from what Mike's heard tonight, most of your questions answered.
I think so.
was going over your review, and seems like you haven't seen anything.
No, not yet.
Okay.
And like the gentleman was saying earlier, he has been in contact with the selectmen in town, and he's been in contact with the police department that they're working with. So if there's no other questions from the board at this time, I'm going to open it up to the public. Tonight, we are discussing the site plan, and if you have any comments about the site plan, state your name and your address for the
May I ask a question?
sure. Your name?
Debbie LaFleur with the Telegram and Gazette. Are you going to raise the building? Hi. Are you going to raise the building or just?
So right now, our engineer is kind of in the midst of that. It doesn't look like we're going to have to, and we're not planning on it yet. Kurt will be able to kind of give us a bit more of a final say-so on that as we come in with it. But right now, from what we've been able to see, we're going to be able to do mostly remediation on the building. It's in a little bit better shape than we thought it was when we first started out. So
Thank you.
it continues that way. But yeah, for anything like that, we'll make sure that we get all the proper permits and get it squared away.
Great. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public at this time? Yes.
Ernie Stokes, 279 Stafford Street. You're talking about the parking lot, all I can think about is wintertime and snow. Have you got a place to push the snow when you plow the lot?
Yeah, Zach, do you want to show?
Yeah, we are proposing a fairly large size snow storage area, which will be away from the parking area. So everything will be removed from the parking area and pushed towards basically in between number 46 and number 5, which is a large grass area that can house a lot of snow.
If you remember where that little trailer was for the fruit stand, it'll be right where that was, kind of along the side of the building.
All right.
Here?
Lisa Westwell, 107 City Depot Road. I would ask the board to strongly look at the traffic study because that intersection is a mess. And I can't see that this location for this type of business, it's not going to be improved. It takes a very long time to get through that light now, depending on what side of town you're coming from. The traffic coming down Masonic Home Road is already a disaster. And throwing in one more highly desirable business in the middle of our town is really not a good idea, and I object.
So the traffic study should be reviewed, but luckily from what we've seen, we shouldn't have too huge of an impact on the traffic going back and forth. It's already very, very highly traveled. So from what we were able to see, we are below the basis points for potential accidents. We're below the basis points for traffic incidents. There were no upgrades recommended to the intersection or anything along those lines based off our estimated usage counts. And we played everything in there very, very conservatively. So if we had a choice between a lower number or a higher number, we always chose the higher number to make sure we had a bit of breathing room, a bit of safety room on that. Hopefully, I know that as traveling through that intersection many times myself, it is one of the more heavily trafficked intersections in town, but our traffic report says that we should be pretty squared away there.
And that will be submitted to us on our next hearing.
You guys have it right there. It's that one, and then it should come back with the Graves engineering comments, I think next week, you're saying,
The
Mike?
peer review from our traffic consultant should be in the board's hands in the next few days.
Okay. We have another comment from the lady in the back.
Kate Berry, I live at 46 H. Putnam Road Extension. In terms of are you going to be taking a left-hand turn into the dispensary if you're going up Masonic Hill?
So if
Not
you're-
because traffic would put you in the middle, that's going to create traffic in the middle of Route 20.
If you're coming up this way, taking a left-hand turn in,
Yeah. If you're waiting to take a left,
Yeah.
you're creating a line of traffic that's leaving cars in the middle of Route 20 as the light's changing.
no, so I think what we were contemplating with that left turn, right turn only is kind of have people come up 20 into the lot, and then they can go out Masonic and kind of make it like a pass-through to avoid anyone backing up or anything along those lines. And when you, as everyone puts it into Google for Google Maps, the address is going to be that lot on Route 20, not the other little driveway to come into. So I'm assuming the majority of people who are coming there are going to be Googling it, and we'll have it directed to go into that lot up in front.
And what is the research, where are you getting your statistics in terms of how busy you're going to be? Because I'm surprised to hear, you're in this to make money, so I'm surprised to hear that you would think that there isn't going to be quite a high turnout of people showing up. There's no other dispensary in the area, so my impression will be that people will be coming from all over to Charlton. And I'm not sure what traffic you've sat in the area, but on a holiday weekend, when people are circumventing the Mass Pike and getting off into the Bridge or Auburn and driving through Charlton, Route 20 is a mess.
Oh, it gets crazy, absolutely. And I've sat in that for lots of time. Not as much time as everyone in this room, but I have sat in it for a good amount. So what we used in the traffic study was the closest analog we could find, which was a pharmacy that doesn't issue prescriptions, which is essentially the way the state views us, and the usage code that best fit what our facility is. So that would be like a CVS or something along those lines. So that's what they plugged into the formulas. So we were below all of the thresholds in our traffic study that would have required additional signaling or adding a turning lane to the intersection or anything along those lines. So while we don't expect it to be a ghost town, we also don't expect it to be treehouse. Just sort of you're generally busy but not backed up with crazy use. Some of the things that help mitigate that are the fact that we're allowed to do deliveries and the fact that while this location is opening up now, there's going to be plenty more opening up in the future. So you're going to see, an initial rush as everyone comes in with curiosity to check it out. But we don't expect that to be a continuous, steady stream, is the best way I can describe it at this point.
And in terms of, I work at the Dudley Courthouse, and it's surprising to me that, frankly, the police would want to sign on to something where, as a citizen of the town, I just think that our police officers should be policing the streets and keeping the community safe, not acting as your security guards. And the first Telegram article I read indicated that there was going to be a live feed into the police department for your surveillance. So
Right,
just-
that was Chief Charette's request, just so they can always see what's going on in there. We don't ever intend to use the Charlton Police. We intend to use them to our benefit to add their safety, get their safety and security, but we never would expect to use them as our private security force or anything along those lines. We're hiring private security guards who will be vetted and approved by the police force, and that's really just an oversight thing. We're offering the same to the fire department, just as a show of transparency. You know, we have nothing to hide here, and anytime you guys want to look at our cameras and see what's going on, you can, but we don't expect 24-hour monitoring or anything along those lines. So we've been working with Chief Charette since the very beginning, back when he had to get the letter of non-objection, and then since his departure, we've started working with other people in the department. And our policy has just been transparency and cooperation the whole time, and that's been received very, very well by them. So we look forward to working with them in the future on this.
And since you brought up accidents, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the David Naguna case, but he killed a state trooper right here in the town of Charlton, leaving behind a family of 6. He was placed at a medical marijuana facility within an hour of that crash. Marijuana was found in his ashtray. So I'm a little disappointed that, honestly, the town is even considering having a medical marijuana facility.
Okay. Do we have any other comments from the public at this time? And if you can keep your comments to the site plan, what we're trying to discuss tonight. The last subject got a little bit off.
Lucas Stevens, 87 Oxford Road. I just want to say it's a great thing that this property is being developed. It's finally being used for something at least, because growing up, I've never seen it used for anything. This is the first time I've heard of it being used for formerly a pizza place. I've only known Charlton House of Pizza right up the street. I've never seen anything at that property. So basically, it's good that it's being used and they're coming here and beautifying the property itself. I think it could at least maybe raise property values in the surrounding area, because as it stands, that property, or that space at least, does not look good.
Thank you. Gentleman in the back.
Richard McGrath, Sawmill Circle. In regards to the volume of traffic going in and out of there, do you have any statistics as to the number of medical marijuana cards that are owned or possessed by people in southern Worcester County? That would probably be your base.
So unfortunately, because of HIPAA laws, the statistics aren't that refined to say who is a medical marijuana patient and also lives in southern Worcester County and also owns a car.
I was looking for numbers as to, do they have a specific, are there 1,000, 10,000 people in the general area that would have?
Oh, no. So statewide, there's only about 10,000. And Worcester County is not the highest population out of there. Most of them are either Berkshires or Boston.
And are you only able to sell those to those people from Massachusetts, or does that include Connecticut? And
No,
if so,
it's Massachusetts residents only who have the Massachusetts ID card.
that's it. So no one from out of state could come up.
No, they have to have the Massachusetts ID card. That's the Massachusetts marijuana ID, and you can only get it if you're a resident.
Okay.
Getting back to the lady's question about possibility of making a left-hand turn coming up Masonic Road. I know from the past, there's always been these yellow sticks put into the road. I don't know if that's something we could contact the Mass DOT about making sure that those stay there.
Sure.
So that if somebody's coming up like she's suggesting for traffic.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are the experts on traffic flow, so we have our analysis, but we're happy. I mean, like I said, you guys are living with it day in and day out, so it's one thing to crunch the numbers and put it into a formula, it's another thing to actually experience it. So whatever we can do to mitigate traffic flow issues, we're happy to do.
Any other questions from the board at this time? No?
Nope.
Okay. What I'm going to do is we're going to continue this public hearing to December 6th. At that time, they'll come back with drawings and stuff, and we'll discuss it again.
Is there any way we could get on to the November 15th one?
We don't have
We don't have one. Oh, the holidays?
Yeah.
Okay. December 6th it is.
Okay.
What time?
We'll let them know.
I think you should
Okay.
announce it tonight, don't you?
Um,
If you can.
what is it?
Yeah,
7:15.
Okay.
I will do, 7:15.
Same time, same place?
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Who are you down here again?
I'd like to make a motion to continue the public hearing to 12/6.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Closest dispensary to here, that's open now, or that will be opening?
Will be open.
That will be opening. They're talking about putting one in Milford. They're talking about putting one in Grafton. There's one going into Sturbridge. There's one going into Millbury. Sturbridge might actually get two.
Yes.
The technology parks on both ends of town. So essentially, this is going to turn into the way you see liquor stores. And every town is going to have one or two type of thing. So right now, there's not a lot opening because it's been a very, very we grow it up in North Brookfield at our cultivation facility up there. Yes. So there's a So right now, you're required under Massachusetts law to be vertically integrated. So you have to produce everything from seed to sale, package to sell yourself. Is state law, so you're not allowed to. Yeah, you can't jump around here and there.
Excuse me.
James.
I just wanted not to start the meeting. Sorry.
The next public hearing.
Okay, being 8 o'clock, the town planning board will hold another public hearing in accordance with section 200-7.1 and 200-7.2 of the Chapel zoning bylaws. The town planning board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, November 1st, 2017, at 7:30 in the senior center of the George C. McKinstry Building, 37 Main Street, Charlton, Mass, on the site plan application of Burton Engineering on behalf of Pillar LLC, 150 John Hurd Boulevard, New Bedford, Mass. 02745, requesting approval of a proposed commercial ground-mounted solar array and associated utility connection facility. The proposed consists of approximately 4.9 megawatt field array on approximately 17 acres of a 49.8 parcel located westerly off of Carpenter Hill Road, Assessor Map 44, Block B, Parcel 2. Said property is zoned agricultural. Copy of the site plan applications are available for inspection at the planning board office and town clerk's office during regular business hours. Any person interested or wishing to be heard should appear at the time and place. And again, we're going to start with the Burton Engineering giving a proposal what they wish to do. We'll go to the board for questions, and then we'll open up to the public.
All right, just present from over here.
Good evening, Frank Carey with Burton Engineering, engineer of record, here representing TJA Solar. So thank you for the introduction, Mr. Sarkis. So looking at a 49.8 acre site, almost a 50 acre site, located west of Carpenter Hill Road, east of 169 Southbridge Road. We're proposing a 4.84, almost 4.9 megawatts on utilizing approximately 17 acres of the 50 acres. There's an existing access way down to maintain existing overhead wires from the substation that's here. We propose to use that same existing access way and continue it down the hill with turnarounds at the bottom of the access ways that we're proposing. They're going to be gravel roads. The solar arrays will be surrounded by a chain link fence. The reason why it's broken up the way it is because there's a wetland system that leads down to Katy Brook, as well as riverfront area associated with Katy Brook, located on the western portion of the property. Portions of the existing property are field. The remainder is wooded. And so we would be clearing in the footprint of the fencing, everything in white that you see here, and generally leaving the wetlands untouched to the extent that we can. We would like to cut trees down in the wetlands, and I just met with the Conservation Commission, and so that's something that we'll discuss with them, whether they'll allow any tree cutting in the wetlands. We are proposing 3 wetland crossings to fully utilize the property with culverts and replication areas, and that will be discussed with the Conservation Commission as well and worked out with the Conservation Commission. Stormwater management, the stormwater generally flows in a westerly direction down towards Katy Brook. We're proposing 2 detention basins to mitigate peak runoff. We're not proposing an increase in impervious, so we're not proposing recharge. We're proposing detention to mitigate peak rates of runoff that will outlet and make its way down to Katy Brook. That's it in a nutshell. We'll turn it up to questions.
And Dave could walk us through part of his report.
Sure. So we just issued a review letter today, a couple hours before the meeting, and we had, I think, 27 comments, and the majority of them, I think, relate to stormwater and drainage on the design. I wouldn't really classify any of them as significant. It's more some backup calculations needed for a few elements and some suggestions and recommendations we made on a few others. It's typical type of comments for solar projects, and I would expect there'll be any issue with the applicant and their engineer responding to those. Again, if there's anything in particular, I don't know if you even had time to look at the letter. If there's anything in particular you'd like to talk about in that letter, we can certainly do that.
And I did receive the letter, review it, and I agree with Mike. I don't think there's any heavy lifting as far as, it's a lot of cleanup stuff, drainage, no major. It'll generally look the same. The notes and the cleanup stuff will just address some of the issues that we brought up.
Do you have a plan showing a little more detail of the solar array?
Excuse me?
Of the solar grounds itself?
Just trying to give you the context and the overview. So here we have the existing conditions, so you can see a little bit better the wetland system leading back to Katy Brook, and then also another wetland system on the other side of it. And just one thing I forgot to mention as far as the interconnect goes. We were proposing to interconnect at the existing utility pole right at the end of the access way. In the coordination with Engrid, they said this line was saturated. There's an existing solar field down here and up here, and Carl Stores right here. So this line was saturated, so in order to have an interconnect, there was 2 options: either run new wires all the way down to 69, or cross Katy Brook. And so this was economically unfeasible, would have killed the project. So we're proposing to cross Katy Brook with utility poles on either side and hanging some wires, and that's being handled through the Conservation Commission as well. So we will interconnect on 169 South Ridge Road. So let's get back to your, some more details. So that's the overall site plan. I don't know if you can read it that much better from where you're sitting at, but we also provided them at increased scales. So if there's any particular portion of the site, this is the site entrance. So there's an existing gravel dirt path that comes down here, and so we're proposing a 14-foot wide gravel path with fence around, and another detention basin up top here to mitigate for this area. You can see one of the wetland crossings as you come down and turn down. It's a wetland crossing. And the roadway is at 10% all the way down. The turnaround areas were also at 10%. It was one of Mike's comments that we need to level those out to be flatter. So those will end up being, I think you recommended 4%, so we'll re-rate that to be 4% at the turnaround. That way you're not trying to turn around on a steep slope. And speaking with multiple fire officials, typically what they've said is they're generally not going in there to fight a fire. They're going in there to save lives. And they're typically not bringing a ladder truck into the solar site. They're bringing one of their all-terrain vehicles is typically how they're going to treat an emergency within the solar sites. And so those have been reviewed with the fire department. This plan has been reviewed with the fire department. And,
Can we make sure that a letter does come from the fire department, that they've reviewed it?
excuse me?
Can we make sure that a letter comes from the fire department?
Sure, I can ask
showing-
Mr. Ciccarelli to see if he can write something up. I did meet with him, and he was generally okay with it, but I can ask him specifically to comment on it. No problem. So we tried to tighten up our grading, so there is some one-to-one riprap that we're doing, so that way we can stay out of the wetlands to the extent that we can, while getting the maximum tide system in as we can. As far as timeline goes, they're not looking to build this right away. It wouldn't be until late next spring. There would not be under the SRAC 2 program. It would be under the Smart Growth program, and they're not really going to know how that plays out until March, April, probably more into April. And so construction wouldn't be until probably late spring, early summer. And likely TJA Solar, they might start building the site. They probably are not going to be the long-term owner of it. They would probably sell it to another solar company. Either they'll build it and sell it, or they would just sell it and someone else will build it. They do own the property, and so I think they would lease it to the new builder, and they would stay a long-term property owner. However, they are likely not going to be the long-term solar system owner. So you can see the access roadway comes all the way down and keeps going. Eventually ends up in a turnaround down here. You can see the detention basin a little bit later. You can see the wetland system down here. The preliminary clearing up to the wetlands. And again, we'll discuss with the Conservation Commission whether or not we can cut some trees in the wetlands for the shade buffer. We tried to put the access ways on the southern side of the panels to provide that shading, or to prevent shading rather, but some trees may need to be cleared. So if you get down, I guess the southernmost arm of it, just to turn around, detention basin, overflow and level spreader to even out the flow before it goes into the wetland system. And then that's the sanitation erosion control plan, hay bales and silt fence, and temporary sedimentation basins, standard fare that we have on.
What's the closest residence?
I believe it's about 400 feet. So the closest residence is, where am I getting my orientation here? It's right over here.
Okay.
That's about 400 feet to 450 feet.
Yep.
And they're right next to the substation over here. And then you have the farm here, I guess,
Yep.
which would be the closest, and that's probably about 300 feet.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody south of that?
Right down here?
Going down Carpenter Hill Road, heading towards Route 20.
So you have two houses here, you have the substation, and there's nobody down here.
And going to...
And down here is the utility easement that runs through there. And so you have Charlton Oil right down here.
Yeah.
And I think there is a house down over here.
That's my house. You're right
Yeah.
against my property line with the power lines.
Yeah, so that would just be a utility pole.
Yeah,
so-
but you have 4 utility poles going in there,
Yes.
right along my property line.
Yes.
My well is at the
Excuse me,
bottom
sir.
right-hand corner.
And keep your comments for a couple more minutes, all right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I was just saying, there's a house there.
Yeah. All right, continue.
Sorry, there's a house down here, and then there's a house over here as well. So it's pretty far distance. I mean, it is an open field, but it's a pretty far distance before you get to that sort of thing.
Now, the other solar farm that's already on Carpenter Hill is further up there.
That's it right there,
Yeah.
and that's on Snake Hill, I guess, but yeah, it's up there.
Mm-hmm. Any other comments?
Okay, this time we're gonna
I
open
have
up.
a couple of
Sure.
questions.
All right.
Do these panels have glare impacts? And if so, have you done any kind of glare analysis?
We
to
have
determine
not
if
done a
any
glare
is gonna be-
analysis, and most of the current panels don't have a glare issue because glare reduces the efficiency. I don't actually know what exact panel they're going to use. I think we put a 420 watt panel on there. Most of the panels right now are 320 to 360 are the cheaper ones. 400s would be more expensive. The thought being that by the time this would actually get built next year, that the 400s would be a little more reasonable. So the panels, it depends on when they build it, what they can get the best
But they don't really have a glare effect?
Generally, no. I mean, I think when the panels first came out, the glass on them, there was a glare issue.
Mhm.
And I think over the last 5 years or so, we haven't really had many issues with glare. We've had towns ask for glare analysis, and it's one of the, you can make it a condition of approval that it be a low glare panel, and it's totally fine with something like that, or an FAA approved panel, because we actually just did a site over by the airport in Southbridge, and that was one of the questions, was the glare, and the panels had to be FAA approved for glare, and I think a lot of them are now, so that would be fine as a condition of approval.
Okay. There was a retaining wall shown on the plan. And I'm wondering if
Yeah, there's some
you're
small-
going to have a certified structural engineer prepare a report to indicate that the wall is sufficient to handle the loads.
If it's over 4 feet, then it does need to be structural. We don't know, really we're going to try to leave it as vague as possible because there's really no visual impacts to anybody on the wall. Most likely it'll be a poured-in-place wall. We're proposing for the wetland crossings, basically a concrete box culvert, and then
No, finish. I was just,
okay, and then wing walls off of that to make the grades up. And so those would probably be poured in place. But if they're over 4 feet, then they would need to be a structural wall. Anything under 4 feet would not be structural.
I did have a comment on the wall in my letter, comment about the walls in my letter, because there weren't any...
And guardrails.
There weren't any proposed grades shown for the walls, so it was unclear.
Top
And there's
walls.
several, there's more than one, how high they were. It's one of those deferred design items. If it requires a building permit and a structural design, then usually the civil plans will say that on it. And if that's the case, I just asked that note be added, so
Right, a lot of first comments will modify that.
And guardrails if necessary.
Yeah, and wherever they're over 4 feet, if they're a structural wall, they need a barrier, so we would do a guardrail in that case.
Okay.
I believe they were right around the 3 to 4, though. We tried to keep them as small as possible, but it just helped as far as minimizing the wetland impacts that have the walls.
And how about site lighting? Will this be lit at night for security purposes?
No. They typically have emergency lighting and motion sensing lighting around the equipment, but that's basically about it. It's not lit up at night. There is motion sensing lighting around the equipment, and that's usually it.
Okay. And I noticed Mike had a comment about a sign. What will be on the sign? Is there some...
I think we put a standard detail on it, and I think it's really just saying what the facility is.
Is there a contact number to call?
Right, I think that's...
24-hour emergency number to call?
Let me see which one it's right for it. Yep. So I think we have a standard sign, solar facility contract or contactor and developer contact and stuff like that. So,
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, we didn't indicate where it was going to be, so it would be up at the front gate.
Okay.
So that's something that we'll have in the next revision for you.
Okay. And then my last thought was, you mentioned the Conservation Commission is reviewing this plan as well.
Yes.
So I think the two boards should really be reviewing and approving the same plan, so
yes.
if the town doesn't approve one plan and the planning board another. So
no, we'll be consistent
we'd like
with
to
what
really sort of work together to make sure we're on the same
whatever
page.
comments we get from both, we'll revise, and you'll each get the same set.
Okay.
So with this submission, you both got the same plans.
Okay.
So we will.
One last one, Frank, sorry. And do you have any proposed plantings along Coppin Hill Road?
No, we didn't propose any plantings. Basically, there is a tree line there, and we're just planning on leaving that tree line there.
All right.
So it's a mix of some scrubs, some decently established trees, but we plan on just leaving the existing vegetation there. We didn't propose any planting.
We do have somebody who sent in a letter. It's from Mr. Singer, one of our selectmen, asking that we send the planning board a request that any solar array installed includes such barriers to obstruct the view of passing roads, neighborhood houses and buildings, etc. This is from Mr. Singer.
Okay.
And I think Ross just brought up the subject of possibly something along the road.
Yeah, we could do a row. We could do a row of arborvitaes behind that. I wouldn't want to chop down the existing vegetation just to plant new plants, but we could easily do a row of arborvitaes outside the fence line between the existing vegetation and the arrays.
I don't mean to keep interrupting. I'm not trying to interrupt you. I'm just raising my finger so they know I had a comment on that same issue. The facility right down at Snake Hill Road, Further south, yeah. They had a similar situation where there was existing tree line that was maintained, but there was very little undergrowth.
Okay.
So they supplemented that on the site with some additional plantings to kind of fill in those gaps. Maybe something similar to that could be done.
Sure, we can do this. I think that there's enough scrub in here that I wouldn't try to supplement. I would just do the staggered row of arborvitaes if that would be acceptable to the board. So.
Would there still be a tree line between them and the neighbors off of Capitol Hill? Like right where your finger is there?
Right here?
No. Right. Yes.
Down in here? Yeah. So all these trees are that's all going to stay. That's all going to stay there. So basically, there's an existing path that comes down here, and we're basically using that existing path. So we don't really need to clear anything in here. So that would all stay there. Yes.
All right. Any other questions from the board? At this time, we're going to open it up to the public. If you could just state your name and your address. Steve Minnick, 93 Southbridge Road, and my concern is where your 4 poles are going.
Sure. Yeah, no, they're right in your house. Right
Sure,
there.
I got the plot plan.
Yeah, no, they're right over on the property line, right by next to the property line. There.
Yeah, but can you put this up so we can show the where my property line?
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if we showed that side all that well, to be honest with you. I never showed the intersection.
My wife might want a copy of it.
Okay.
Yep. What it is one of your poles is literally, I have a shallow well, and the pole is going in like in the air of that chair next to my shallow well. And all I'm asking is if they can just move the poles over away from my well a little more.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we can do
Because
that.
the property they bought, say it's like this wide, my house is here, they got the poles running directly to my property, and this right-hand corner is where my well is. And one of the poles is going like almost right by, you can almost put the pole in my well. And it's a shallow well, and it's only 9 feet deep. And the next well, pole when you go down, because they got all the markers where they surveyed it, I measured the well, the water table's 9 feet down where my well is. The next pole down, you probably go down, walk downhill, I'd say maybe 5 feet. So I don't know how deep they dig the hole to set the pole in, but they're probably gonna hit the water table.
What I'd like to maybe do is ask Mike, our engineer, to meet with the Burton and yourself.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we could easily move it over.
Because here we're
20 feet away, and I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, right there in that right-hand corner is right where my well is, and that's right where one of your poles is going.
Okay, yeah, no, we can.
That's all I'm asking. If they could just shift it over, then that'd be.
If
Because I'm just afraid
25 feet, would that
contaminating.
give you peace of mind?
I'm just afraid of contaminating the well, you know what I mean? It's like having a glass of water with a pencil in it. I mean, if that pole's gonna hit the water table,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd like a little more room to
So
fill
why
it out.
don't we try to arrange a day trip that you could be there.
That'd be
if you'd like,
perfect.
And the Burton engineer would be there too.
Yeah, I can show them exactly what I'm talking about.
What we did.
Yeah, we can walk it.
Yeah,
Come to a mutually agreed upon location that's not right on the property line.
You wanna set that up now or after the meeting? How do you wanna do that?
Probably after the meeting.
Okay.
We'll set something up. Yep. We'll have-
Yeah, I'm only asking just to,
Yeah, we'll
shift
have
it
it.
over.
It's perfectly reasonable.
We'll give Jane another project to do, to try to coordinate that,
Okay.
along with Bill here, to make you, to meet your needs. Anybody else in the public at this time with comments?
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Yes.
David Barnacle, 7 Lad Road. Frank.
You should have said yes, but no curveballs.
No curveballs. Do you have any gapping under the fencing with all of those wetlands in clear proximity to your facility? Because you know that there's going to be lots of migration of organisms across that large-scale piece of property. And with that fencing, the organisms are not going to be able to pass, despite the presence of the wetlands on at least 2 sides of that facility.
Yep, and you know, normally we have it 6 inches off, and this one we do not.
Because 6 to 8 inches would really be comfortable for animal migration. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Frank.
Yep, good point. Thank you.
No curb ball.
Nope. Straight down the middle. Got it.
We're going to continue this to December 6th.
Any other comments at this time? On the board? We're going to continue this public hearing. When do you, the next time we meet is December 6th.
Be ready for that.
You can be ready for that?
Okay.
Do I have a motion to continue the public hearing to
Like, no.
December 6th?
I'd like to make a motion to continue public hearing to December 6th.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All
Same
those-
time? 7:30?
Sure. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
25%. 8 inches. Probably should. Well, yeah. Thank you.
We had on our agenda was Sunset City 508. They've asked to have that discussion continue to December 6th. So there will be, 508 is not going to be here tonight. Sorry I didn't announce it earlier for anybody who's sitting here. So, for that. It's a learning process. All right. Can you give us your phone number or something?
Sure. Ross has. Give me a call.
Oh, you know. Something on my mouth. Great.
You must be like somebody she knows.
Lisa, if you could come up tonight to the board, we have some questions to ask you.
Oh.
Walking down the podium.
No, you can sit here if you wish.
I just came in case you had questions. I wasn't sure where this whole thing.
If you could give us some insight to the Reardon project.
Okay, so Lisa Westwell, I'm here representing Charlton Heritage Preservation Trust. We own the open space at Hammond Woods. It's roughly 27.44 acres. It was conveyed to us many, many years ago when Hammond Woods developed the project in front of the planning board. And special permit decision was issued in, I would say, 2003, 2004, and then we took the open space in 2006. Then everything went south, and two ring builders came in and bought the subdivision, and then brought it back to life in front of the planning board in about 2011. So fast forward to 2017, and we got a call from Steve Brissett with Gilbert Engineering asking us about doing a lot line change because they are too close to our back boundary line by 3 feet 3 inches on the back corner of the house that they built on lot 12, which abuts our open space. So went out there, did a site visit, and realized that there were no boundaries, there were no pins, there was no survey. So basically we had a meeting, the board had a meeting, and went back to Tim Reardon and asked him to survey lot 12, and then he said he would also survey lot 11, which puts us on the other side of, kind of looks like a V over there. And then I, in addition, sent him the special permit decision from years ago and asked him to go ahead and survey the open space, because none of it had been surveyed before the houses were put in, or at least that was my understanding. So the email that I got from him this morning was that they were out there today doing the survey. So once we once we have everything pinned and we know exactly where the boundaries are, the plan would be to go out and do another site visit and see exactly what we have and where everything is in relation to our boundaries and the boundaries for particularly lot 12, since that's the one that's too close to our property line. So that's what we were waiting for.
Now, is something like that for zoning board of appeals or variance?
They would have to go in front of the zoning board of appeals for a variance. I can't really answer that, but this gentleman approaching me from my left might be able to answer that question.
Mr. Meskis, if you could give us some light like Lisa is doing at this moment?
So I have seen a draft plan for that property. I require as a zoning enforcement officer all houses to have a as-built delivered so that I can verify that they meet the setback requirements, and this apparently brought this whole issue to light. A variance, whenever someone comes to me and asks if I can get a variance, my first question to them is, what are you going to tell the zoning board of appeals is why you can't make it work? This is a self-imposed hardship. We have asked that of applicants before. Their wife didn't want the garage here, she wanted it over there, and was going to be too close to the property line, and I said to the gentleman, you can apply, but the first question the zoning board of appeals is, why can't you get some land from the neighbor when it's not going to affect the neighbor? I think that would be my recommendation to Mr. Reardon. I did have a short discussion with him the other day when I was doing a final on another house, and a land swap making the property complying would certainly be better in the long term for any landowner. So the requirement for a variance, the technical requirement is a specific geographical, topographical addition unique to the lot that results in a hardship. So if you stand by the legal requirement, no variance should ever be granted. They are granted, but the first order of business is the question of self-imposed hardship.
Who would be the landowner that would be able to swap?
Charlton Heritage Preservation Trust.
Is that under a conservation restriction?
No, it's not.
It's not.
However, it was conveyed under a flexible subdivision open space plan. So I don't know as far as...
Need a modification of the plan then as well, I suppose.
Yeah, we haven't really gotten, we don't really want to put the cart before the horse, so to speak. It didn't really make sense for us to get into too many conversations about how to fix it until we knew exactly where the boundary lines were. Because until we know exactly where everything is, we didn't want to make a bigger issue out of something that, maybe there was a mistake in the back and they're not as close as they think they are. We just didn't know. So until we go back out there and do another site visit and take a look at the land and see, where is everything in relation to the boundaries, then we'd be able to sit down and, we're hoping to bring it to some kind of solution for everybody. What that solution is not, we don't have anything.
Because we don't know what the
Because we
dimensions
don't
are.
know, right.
Does
So
the foundation as-built show what the setback is?
It shows a violation.
It shows 3 feet when it's, I
It shows-
think it's
3 feet 3 inches or something.
And it's
I think
supposed to be what?
26.9.
Is this a rear setback?
Rear setback.
So it's not even close.
No, it's not 2 inches.
Okay.
But this is one of those deals that a miss is, a miss is a miss and ups is an ups.
Yep.
So I think Lisa is right that they, even though they've done an instrument survey, it appears they've done an instrument survey, it's all calculated.
Yep.
And that does not give the layperson any visual reference to be on the ground looking
Right.
at other potential issues that.
You want to
With my
physically see. You want to physically
measuring
see
tape
where
on.
it is.
Yes,
now
I want to be able to.
You know what the
out there-
discrepancy is. You want to see it
Exactly.
in the space.
As a non-engineering person,
Gotcha.
I want to be able to walk outside and look from one pin to another and say, okay, that's
And
exactly
while they're
where
out there, they're
everybody's...
staking all the corners of the open space.
That, yes, we did ask them to do that because it was required under the original special permit decision, so I sent them a copy of that and said, while you're out there, if you don't mind just going right ahead and doing, wrapping up that loose end, that'd be good. So I guess the next step would be another site visit to go out and see what's going on out there.
After it's marked.
After it's marked, which was supposed to happen today, so.
Where is this lot as you come in from the roads? Very end.
If you go all the way up to the top,
Yep.
okay, when was the last time you were out there, Mike?
A month ago.
A month ago. There's a house with a detached garage that got built shortly after the house was built.
Left to right.
Right-hand side.
Yep.
That's why my right hand's out. So if you went straight ahead, it's like at the end of the upper.
Is the number 12 written on the tree?
Okay.
Yeah, it's Hyde Road. If you go all the way to the very top of the subdivision and the cul-de-sac goes like this, it's lot 11, open space, lot 12. And our open space sits back, kind of behind 12, and but there's stone walls all back there, and we go all the way down Route 20.
Okay.
So now, we meet till December 6th. Does that, you really won't have any reason to come back to us until you find out exactly where the pins are, right?
Yeah, I guess we've never had to deal with any kind of encroachment or violation, so it's kind of a little bit, it's going to be new for the trust as well to figure out how to do it, and we are under, flexible subdivision bylaw is an animal of itself, so I don't even know what the planning board's role is as far as, being able to solve the issue, because our open space was conveyed to us under your bylaw, under the flexible subdivision bylaw. It's not like the developer just gave us the land. This is all part of town regulations.
Yeah, and
So-
your flexible subdivision bylaws, it gives reduction in lot size and frontage and roadway width in exchange for 25% of the gross area of the property. So you're gonna have to, we're gonna have to maintain that, and that how much work the board is gonna have to do on that approval, or amending that approval or whatever. So there's a zoning setback issue, there's a land encroachment issue, and then there's the special permit for the.
I assume there was a subdivision plan approval as well?
There was, and there's an upland component to the 25% too. I don't remember off the top of my head what it is, but because it's a lot of wetlands, so 25% of the total area of the subdivision, and then of the 25%, X% has to be upland. I want to say 20% up to 25%.
There's some numbers, so we
There's
don't
some
get
number.
given swamp. All swamp anyway.
It's nice behind, really very,
I'm
very,
sorry,
very pretty.
it's a wetland that flora, fauna, and other waterfowl live in.
It is, it's lovely. So that's all we know. I wasn't sure whether this was going to be tabled or not, but I figured it'd come just in the event that you had questions.
So on the timing issue, even if an applicant came in today for a variance, they're 30 days out easily before that board even meets, because there's receival of the variance request, setting the hearing date, which they have up to 65 days. We're getting into the season. They're scheduled for next week, I think. I've been to so many ZBA hearings for various reasons that so they're.
The ZBA meeting was tonight, I think, October 30th. Right.
No meeting tonight.
No meeting tonight.
Conservation was meeting tonight.
Does this affect the occupancy of the home?
Yep.
It does?
Oh, absolutely.
In what way? They can't occupy it until, okay.
Can't issue a certificate of compliance or occupancy for a violation of the zoning bylaw.
I see. So there's emergency then?
There's some urgency, but there's also, as you know, there's some limitations of legal advertising requirements too. And it's like,
And the trust did move as fast as possible. I got the call on a Thursday, and I was out there doing a site visit Saturday or Sunday of that weekend. And that kind of got the ball rolling where we realized that we had probably a bigger problem than just a zoning violation. It looked like we might have encroachment issues out there. So I actually went to because I've been in town forever, I went to all the boards and I said, input?
So I think the question is, Mike, this is for you, would we order to see the whole plan to make sure the compliance is made, as long as with that contained space, the upland, as well as with the zoning as well, from the subdivision owner?
Right.
I think we're talking about 223 feet or something or other, square feet of area to
For the
make that.
25%?
No, the swap.
Yeah, it's likely it's not going to affect the required percentage of the open space.
I don't think it's going to, no. because
It's usually not that tight.
It's a big parcel,
Right.
there's a lot of wetlands and a big pond
But I think
there.
since there's 2 open approvals that aren't closed out yet, and this is a modification, but it's going to go that route, I think. So we probably need to see that on the plan, showing that open space still complies with the requirements. Subdivision probably is as amended as well, I think. Both.
Lot 11 is still vacant.
Is it? I don't think so, I think there's a house on it. I think
I
lot
know.
12 might be the last one that was built.
I'd have to look at it. I have a funny feeling that there's one more lot up there, but I'm not sure. You know, right there. You know, because we're talking about this lot over here, there's a lot over here, there's this access V shape.
And lot 11 is kind of a long, skinny lot.
There might be some other wiggle room potentially, but.
So hopefully they will get a survey in. You guys will have a discussion with Mr. Reardon, and then from there, it goes to whatever it goes to. Either back to us for a new A&R plan.
Yeah, at least an A&R plan, sure. Probably an amendment to the special permit.
Or a zoning board or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh.
So do you want,
Does
should
your-
we expect to be on the December 6th agenda as well?
We-
I'll
We'll
keep it on.
we'll keep it
We'll
on for
keep it
December
safe.
6th.
Probably not a bad idea, I don't know where we'll be at by then,
Yeah.
but
And
at least we'll know more than what we know now.
Yeah, if you haven't come to a conclusion by that time, at least you can inform us what you're trying to do. And, which is, no sense holding it up. We'll keep it going. Thanks. Do we have to give you a time commitment yet, or?
No, we haven't.
No.
Fine.
No.
We'll just put you on the
Tell me
agenda.
when you want me to be here, and I'll do my best to be here.
Aye.
Okay.
Thanks, Lisa, for
Sure,
coming in.
no problem.
You said it, you go.
Robert.
Yes. Okay. From previous discussions I've had with Robin, we'll put it this way. It says, I spoke to Bill and James today about rescheduling a joint meeting between the planning board, EDC, Board of Selectmen, and the FinCom committee. It is my understanding that you will discuss tonight, Wednesday, November 8th, at the date it's suggested, and is still open to the Board of Selectmen, and other dates could be used. Robin would like to know if we'd be interested in having a meeting with all these people to discuss something about our planning director.
We originally requested a meeting at the planning board with the select board.
Correct.
When, like 2 weeks ago, we wanted to have it done like within a couple of days or something.
Yes.
And what we were going to discuss with them at that time has already been taken care of. We really don't need a meeting right now with the select board, is my feeling. We were requesting a meeting so that everybody would be informed and everybody would know the same thing. That has since passed and we've moved on from that. If they want to have a meeting, fine, maybe, if we can make it. What we were going to meet with is no longer.
I agree with Jane completely. I thought we were being very good to extend and kind of invite them into the loop to let us kind of, but I think we have the fix for now, and
right.
We'll handle it ourselves.
I kind of like the idea is, we do have an interim planning director.
Right.
We've discussed the work that Mike will be doing for us to help guide us through this term of looking for a new planning director. We've already discussed it a little bit with human resources.
Yes.
To start looking for an ad.
We have a draft of the ad.
Draft of the ad. And the board here, I guess, would have other discussions at a later time on salary positions.
In the draft ad, there is a range of salary. Well, we can get into that later. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, someone can give us a little bit of an input as to what they want to meet about.
Well, I noticed the EDC's been invited too, so that.
Okay, so it is EDC, it's FinCom, it's Board of Selectmen.
Yeah. I think maybe part of the.
And is Personnel Board on there? Or the one memo I read said something about Personnel Department.
No, it's just Planning Board, EDC, Board of Selectmen, and FinCom.
I'm just curious, Alan was part-time, economic development
Right.
director as well.
That
So
could
I don't
be-
know how that fits into the proposal to go forward with the town, new town plan.
That's true.
Maybe there's some reason to discuss that and get that issue resolved.
They have dates opening for November, which is a Monday.
No, I can't do that.
And then they have another one November 14th.
Can't do that one either. Yeah, 13 and 14, I have a commitment.
I have a calendar.
I mean, you guys can go ahead and do it, I just won't be in town. So I can do it 14.
We'll have some good input.
The next meeting, so they said she's on a Tuesday, that they're not meeting.
Okay, so I'm not here. Is this date still available? That was
The chairman can't meet on a Wednesday.
Okay.
Joseph Arwitz.
Okay.
So they prefer a Tuesday? They want him there?
Yeah, sure, that's understandable.
Yeah, I can't do Tuesdays. I have Girl Scout meetings. They have to take a priority. I'm holding the girls about future, so.
Maybe the board could designate one member to go.
One member.
Yeah. And then they meet in December 5th and the 19th. And they said the off Tuesday would be better, she said.
You mean like the 12th?
Yeah, like the 12th or the, yeah.
Okay, who's that? I'm gonna keep pushing it out. Oh, that's Thanksgiving.
A lot of people are
Yeah,
traveling.
that's not gonna work.
That's not gonna
It's
work.
gonna have
Okay,
to
so
be
it's gonna be
December.
Would we want to meet during one of their regular selectmen's meetings? Do you think it would be that short of a discussion?
What night is their meeting?
There is Tuesdays.
This Tuesdays, yeah.
December
The
5th.
5th and the 19th of December
Is when they're meeting.
is when they're meeting.
Is when they meet.
And the only other date in there is the 12th. I mean, there's no way it would.
No.
So it's either gonna be the 5th or the 12th. Does anybody, do we wanna give them back that idea? I know Patty has
I
trouble.
can skip out.
Do you wanna do the 12th?
Can I bring like all 18 girls with me?
Yeah.
Show
They
'em how-
can
show 'em
work
how
on
the
their government badge?
Show them how a government badge.
Yeah, the 5th,
What works, the 5th or the
Well,
12th?
whatever you guys.
The 5th would be a regular meeting for them.
Yeah.
So we could just scoot in and scoot out. Otherwise, the 12th, we'd have to all try to just
Yeah.
come to the town hall that one night for
Yeah.
a conversation.
And their meetings start at 6:30, so would you like to meet at 6? A half hour?
Want us before the meeting?
No, that's
Oh.
just what
Okay.
Pete's thinking. They're meeting anyways.
Oh, okay, so we'll just meet before the meeting.
Want me-
Yeah, try this one.
Bounce it off and do the set.
All right, okay.
Then we would do December 5th at 6 o'clock.
I'll talk to Robin tomorrow.
Okay.
Just sit down
Yeah.
This one.
Yep, okay. Okay.
And that's the day before our December meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just because we have to post it and everything.
Yes.
For quorum, yep. Joint meeting, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are they going to give us an agenda or something so we know exactly what we're going to be discussing and talking about?
I
can ask and
You could request one.
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
At least
okay.
give us an idea.
Okay.
Where are you
And
writing
Bill
that?
should, Bill should be.
Pretty good.
Spence, okay. I'll send it back. I'll set.
Do we have time tonight to go through job description, or do you want to just take it home and?
Does everybody have one?
Not yet.
What was this? We didn't do that. Didn't come in?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can pass this out. This is from
Yeah.
Jean gave this today.
Jennifer up at the HR had given me what the ad will look like. It's this one sheet.
Okay. You want to use them? Now, would this be their, the ad that human resources would run?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you need to.
Right, so we need to read.
You need to really
review it and, do we need to vote on it? I mean, probably do.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
I think you should.
Okay.
Knowing the time frame of this, no, I just don't want to have another meeting just for this.
No.
We put a lot of effort in last month, having 4 months.
Yeah,
4 meetings
right.
in a month.
Yeah.
Do they?
Well,
need
take
this?
it over and see if there's anything glaring or anything. Just let us know, and we can do it at our next meeting. It'll be the day after the meeting with them. With the
Right.
select board.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, what's another month?
Okay.
Nobody's gonna
I'm
be-
just gonna flip reviewing stuff.
Okay. So if everybody could just read this over the next month, and when we meet on December 6th, we can do a vote.
Yep.
And let Human Resource continue with it.
Does anybody need the job descriptions?
Oh, yeah, there were 3 different.
There's 3. Does anybody want?
Did you want to pass it along?
I got it.
You got it?
I got
You're
it.
all set?
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, so we'll wait on it too.
Yeah.
You might as well.
Okay, we'll do them both at the same time.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Let's see if there's any-
Okay.
Okay.
That was the,
Review the minutes.
mhm.
We discussed the planning board's Vacancy discussion. The 508s.
We didn't do this. We didn't discuss the seat, the planning board seat. We've
Okay.
gotten Dawn
Yeah.
Clay.
Mm-hmm.
Alicia said she'd like the seat, and Ralph said the alternate seat.
Okay. As you all know, we are looking for a planning board member, and we're looking for an alternate. Jane has been talking with Alicia, and she'd like to come back as the planning board member.
She's the alternate now.
Which she is now.
Yeah.
Okay,
She's
so
the
she'll
alternate.
just move right into the.
Yeah, but we'd still need to have a joint.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh.
yeah.
Could we do that?
Yeah, we can do
Same-
that
we
night.
do
We
it
can
the
do
same
that.
night.
Yeah, okay.
So,
We
She
will-
definitely wants it. She, yes.
Yeah, we have a confirmed email.
yeah, she, she's familiar with what the board's done in the past,
Mhm.
and the subjects that we got coming up are still things that she's familiar with.
Right.
So I think she would be the best person to fill that seat. And then we do have two requests. One is from a Don Clay,
Yes,
and one is from a Ralph Fisk.
correct.
Ralph Fisk is a builder in town. Not familiar with Don Clay's position. He did send a letter to the selectmen and to us, saying that he would like to fill the position of the seat. But we're really looking for an alternate.
An alternate, correct.
What I'd like to possibly do is, I guess, get some idea what Mr. Clay's,
See if he's interested.
see if he's interested in being an alternate.
Okay.
I think when I interviewed for an alternate, like when I was young, I came in for like a meeting and they asked questions and I asked questions and
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to invite, maybe talk to them and see if they're interested in the alternate and then invite them in for a quick conversation.
It's a good idea.
Okay.
I think the most important thing is to get the seat filled
Right.
first, and the alternate,
We can follow.
Oh, yeah.
we can follow
Yeah,
up.
Alicia
So-
thing, I think she's a perfect fit. She's done it before. She knows the town.
Yeah. And she's got a lot of good insight about the town.
Exactly.
So we'll try to get that on December 5th when we meet with the selectmen.
We'll do a joint meeting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
It'll work perfect. We should still vote
Yep.
that week.
So I'd like
Just
to,
hold the, alternate open for a little bit.
Mhm.
so do I have a motion to reappoint Alicia as our open seat?
Can we, do we make a motion to bring it to the select board for the joint?
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So what we want to do is make a motion to meet with the selectmen,
To discuss Alicia as
to
our,
bring her right.
back into our seat.
Yeah.
So do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then we'll ask Ralph and Mr. Clay if they want to come in for December 6th. And
Perfect, okay.
we can ask them questions, and they can ask us questions, and we can decide there for the alternate seat.
Got it.
Got that? Before I lose it?
Yep.
I think Mike would like to leave.
Yep, absolutely.
Sorry about that.
No, well, I've been contemplating
Don't we have that?
my
one
attendance
on
at the
Wall
next
Street? Did you want to
state
discuss?
meeting, if I'm allowed to.
Okay.
I would.
All right.
Did you want to
Okay.
discuss the rules? The company?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Are we working with that 90-day time limit set for net Hammond Woods?
Hammond Woods.
As far as completion of bullet items that we set?
Yeah, I'm not, you have a letter from him? Okay, we have a letter here from Mr. Reardon dated October 10th.
That's the one we sent.
That's what we said.
Yeah, but it just, it lets
Right.
us know the time is coming up.
The timeframe is 11:10. we're not gonna be meeting between now and then. We gave them a 90-day time period for roadway curving, sidewalks, looming and seeding within the right-of-way in front of those lots with house lots, either occupied or under construction, and completion of subdivision detention basins. Do you have any idea, Mike, how much of this might be done?
I don't. I have not been to the site in a few weeks.
Okay.
My suggestion would be I can call Mr. Reardon tomorrow, give him, ask him for sort of an update on where things are at, remind him of this deadline coming up in 9 days, see where he's at, and then follow up with an inspection at some point next week.
Okay. Are we going to be allowed to continue this because we don't meet in November to December?
Well, we'll
As
see.
far as action,
Yeah.
I guess,
Yeah.
all the action depend on Mike's inspection, right?
Right. So if Mike gives us a report
Yep.
for our December 6th meeting,
Right, then we can act on it.
we can act on it even though we have passed the 90 days.
Right.
Yep.
If anything, it's like giving him a grace.
Correct.
All right, so if, I guess what we'll do is we'll ask Mike to do something in the next week or so to make sure he's close to the 10th date. And then we'll probably ask Mike to visit one more time before November 6th, if the snow don't fly. Is that possible?
For December 6th?
Yeah.
If it's necessary this week. Maybe
Yeah.
he has all this time, we don't know.
Correct.
We can find out.
Okay. Do you agree to that?
Yes, sounds great.
Okay.
Yep.
You got a lot to say about that. I'll be opening my car window and letting it blow out. That's the subject. Okay. Talk to you about
Right,
tonight.
yeah.
We can discuss it during the week if you want.
No, okay.
Next week when you,
Sure.
when you're in. Yeah. Yep.
We have to vote to go into executive too.
Correct. This section here, right? To discuss strategy with respect. Yes.
What? Just state that.
Right, that we
Yeah,
want
then
to
we have
go
to go
into
into executive session, motion, and then we'll,
Okay. Do I have a motion to go into executive session? To discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining for litigation, if any open meeting may have a internal effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Can I have a roll call? Ross?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes.
Patty? Bill?
I don't vote.
Okay. Yes. So that'll conclude this portion of the.
And then you also need to state that you'll come out of executive session only to
For
adjourn.
adjournment.
Yes. We will come out of executive session to adjourn and do a roll call at that time. That concludes this portion of the planning board meeting for tonight. Do I have a motion to?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.